Hello, I'm Nicole Mcintosh, and I'm here with my partner, Jonathan Louie. We're the co-founders of Architecture Office. In our research and practice, we're focused on the way images construct our built environment and how images become the context for design. Thank you to the Seoul Biennial for inviting us to exhibit and present our work. We're very excited to share with you Fabricating Swissness. How do you fabricate Swissness? We've been asking this ourselves ever since the first encounter with New Glarus on a road trip across America in 2016. Since the 1930s, New Glarus, Wisconsin has been converting its architecture to look Swiss. And they use architectural elements that accessorize the building to create an attractive Swiss appearance for visitors. To create the setting, the building codes describe typical elements of the Swiss chalet style that evoke certain associations with familiar traditional Swiss building types. With our installation, we're investigating the translation of the Swiss image in New Glarus and invite visitors to engage with the ethnic community that stages an alpine experience for a general audience. Since our first visit, this research on New Glarus and its Swissness manifested itself through teaching a traveling exhibition called Swissness Applied, the book Swissness Applied, Learning from New Glarus, and now our installation here at the Seoul Biennial of Architecture and Urbanism. In New Glarus, the scenography of the streetscapes display Swissness on several decorated sheds and some recently constructed docks. Here you can see the former. Existing two-story brick buildings decorated with building elements of the extraneous chalet type in the old downtown district. This drawing shows Main Street in 1900 and 2020. Over the years, the village's architecture consistently used interpretive combinations of memory, imagination, and photographs to transform the built environment into the desired chalet look. Through these means, 4 periods of Swissifying the buildings of New Glarus can be identified. Swissifying is the term used describing the building's transformation to their alpine appearance. The most significant building phase is between 1950 through 1975, where the focus shifted to the commodification of the alpine setting through the alteration of existing commercial buildings. The village turned to fabricate its cultural heritage as an economic generator following the closure of a milk condensing plant, the primary source of income for many villagers. As one New Glarner once stated, it was not enough to be Swiss, we had to look Swiss. Since 1999, the city has regulated the construction of new buildings or alterations of existing buildings in the commercial districts via building code. Chapter 118, Building Construction, Article 2, Swiss Architectural Theme, regulates the setting and makes sure that the Swiss aesthetic of the town gets enhanced. This includes any and all buildings, structures, walkways, or lighting in the C1 commercial district and the C2 highway commercial district in the village of New Glarus, including all construction or substantial alterations or remodeling of existing constructions. The exterior of these buildings must conform to the Swiss architectural theme adopted in the village. And in determining whether the proposed construction changes, alterations, or remodeling conforms to the exterior design of the Swiss architectural theme, the Design Review Committee will consider the proposed exterior design with existing Swiss structures and consult Swiss design examples, such as seen on the bottom. In short, Article 2 Swiss architectural theme describes typical elements of the Swiss chalet style that evoke certain associations with familiar traditional Swiss building types. Here are some pictures as examples that are out of these publications mentioned. These images portray a variety of traditional chalet styles in the cantons of Switzerland and abroad, but altogether the collection simplifies many very distinct versions of Swissness in architecture into a composed style that is recognizable as simply Swiss. Taking into the consideration the photographic artifacts that shape the town's building codes, for the Swissness Applied exhibition, we began to speculate on the rules and boundaries of Swissness for the fictional model series it has as long as it has. After all, the way the code is described is not dissimilar from model parts in the train kits, which use typical Swiss building elements to synthesize an alpine event. By learning from the feedback loop of images to buildings in Uglaris with the two model series on the left, each of the fictional model designs interprets two criteria from the Swiss themed building code: the roof and the building element. This research will also be published this month with Park Books. The book, Swissness Applied, Learning from New Glarus, investigates the translation of European immigrants' towns in the United States, exemplified by New Glarus. It features our results of extensive fieldwork on buildings in the village, as well as design projections based on the local building code, and evaluates the outcomes through different representational techniques.
Fabricating Swissness is a multimedia installation that is currently exhibited at the Seoul Biennale as part of the thematic exhibition. Support for this project came from ERA, the Seoul Metropolitan Government, the Seoul Biennale, and Texas A&M University. As we said earlier, the system of elements described in the New Glarus building codes are similar to the components in the model kits built by Fuller Modelbau. These kits of Swiss-themed building elements served as a point of departure for installation. Fabricating Swissness is a four-sided aluminum structure measuring 2 meters by 2 meters by 3.6 meters high. And it illustrates the notion of Swissness and the Swiss chalet style in New Glarus through vernacular imagery, audio, and memorabilia. Painted coral, an interpretation of the iconic red color of the Swiss flag. The occupiable structure supports scaled-up model parts translated from the Swiss-themed Fuller Modelbau train kits. Surrounding these are 6 photographs of New Glarus by Brian Griffin and audio interviews exploring the aesthetics of Swissness with Benedict Wexler of the Swiss Consul General of San Francisco and New Glarus architect Will Gallagher. The interviews are mixed with alpine sounds derived from traditional Swiss folk music and reconstructed through a variety of digital transformations by sound designer Paul Chavez. Together, the media, materials, and ephemera are semi-autonomous entities that altogether convey concepts commonly understood as Swiss. With this work, we are questioning if Swiss architecture can be understood as just the formal character of specific alpine buildings, elements as suggested in the design guidelines of New Glarus. Can material and size be disregarded? Can color be different? Seeing these Swiss elements isolated from the actual architecture, i.e. shutters not on a facade, are they still understood as Swiss? The assembly of the installation draws inspiration from the overlapping and symmetrical joinery of Swiss chalets, and we worked with structural engineer Roel Vanderstraat at ERA and metalsmith Michael Geik to design a single joint that is made from screwing threaded barrels through 2 panels of 1/8 inch thick aluminum. You can see the joint on the right and our build team mocking at the structure before painting. In addition, some structural parts hide components within their thickness. Wiring paths are routed through 2 1/8 inch thick panels that are sandwiched together and hide audio wires for speakers and MP3 players within the thin structure. Made of individual elements to minimize material waste, the components of the structural assembly were cut from 5 sheets of 4 foot by 8 foot aluminum. The installation is conscious of its travel footprint and can fit flat pack into a 4 foot by 8 foot by 30 inch high plywood crate. Upon arrival in Seoul, it was assembled by a small team of individuals using flathead screwdrivers. The process of optimization undertaken meant less labor and material waste in the build process. In conclusion, while Americans have been trying to replicate alpine structures for over 100 years, our interest was not to copy the chalet, but actualize its image through minimal means. Thank you.
Thank you.